Hey guys,
All right.
this is Amateur Hour. Welcome to Virtual Boys. I'm Chris from Shugghead Gaming. You guys probably know that if you clicked on my link. Right now, we're also live over on Ryan's. He is the VR grid, and thanks for joining us, guys. This is kind of our work in progress. We may consolidate this into a single stream, we may not, but for now, this is what it is. Please fire off in chat. Let me know how the audio levels are. As I said, we're still trying to figure this shit out. Ryan, say hello.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Yeah, on my channel too. Let me know if we're coming in loud and clear because, yeah, we are, as Shug said, crazy amateurs who somehow managed to throw this together, and it looks somewhat good, which is weird because, like I said, I'm pretty incompetent. So let's close that down. Let's close that down.
How Canadian
All
of
right,
you, all self-deprecating and such.
that's me, baby. Shug, how's it going, man?
Good. If you guys clicked on the link here, you probably saw that Ryan and I were lucky enough to get our pre-orders for our PS5s. We've kind of coming from two different perspectives here a little bit. Ryan's been really pushing the PSVR side of it to try to see what the differences have been, how it's been operating, and I've played around a little bit with that, but I've also been spending a lot of time just dissecting the PS5. So our conversation's gonna range probably across the board from first impressions of the system, functionality of the system, things we like and don't like, and then of course we are VR channels, so we'll be discussing that aspect in depth as well. Because, like I said, this is the PSVR perspective. So this is kind of the brainchild of Ryan. So I'll let you kick this off, I guess.
Yeah, so last time, if you guys watched us talk last time, it was the pre-launch of the PS5, and we had definitely put some stuff out there as far as what to expect with the PSVR, and some stuff was verified, some stuff was very shortly after the release unverified, just confirmed to not be true. So there was a little bit of conjecture on our part that was, and it turned up being false, but we had no idea, obviously, until the release that it would have been false. So this is kind of our post-launch review of the PS5. Like you said, we've both been messing with it for not quite the full launch, as it took my PS5 to take around what 5 days later than I was supposed to get it. Thank you, Best Buy.
Yep.
I'm still happy I got one. I don't want to be too bitter, but that was just sitting there watching everybody pop up on a stream and, oh my god, I got my PS5. I'm just sitting there like just refreshing my tracking on my phone every like 10 seconds. Like, nope, still in BC. It's still in BC. That's a province in Canada for those of us who don't live in Canada. And then, like I said, I finally got it, plugged this thing in. I've been jumping back and forth from my PS5 to my PS4 and just kind of comparing what works, what doesn't work. There's some missing games. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we basically wanted to cover in this one. Our general thoughts on the console, which I think are going to be overly positive, but I want to preface my thoughts now before we get too deep into it. I'm going to come off as fairly negative when it comes to the PSVR side of things. There's definitely some positive aspects to it, but don't take that negativity as anything other than statements of fact. I've been running this through the gauntlet here as much as I can. I still have more to do. So it's just more to make people aware of what the PS5 can do for the PSVR and what it can't, and also just what the PS5 can do in general. Because, like I said, we've both been playing it in and out of VR, and it's kind of a general discussion about all things PS5 with a lot of VR included. Does that sound good? I think that sounds all right.
Yeah. Sorry, I just noticed that I having issues here. Anyways, we're good. With that, let me ask you. We'll kick things off here. Initial impressions of the PS5. Straight up,
Um,
just like turning on the console and first hour through it.
it was sexy and seamless. I mean, my first hour was boring because I was just like transferring files and doing all the stuff you do from your PS4 to the PS5. So honestly, my first day with it was honestly not a lot. I was downloading games like mad because of the PS5's limited hard drive space. So I didn't want to have that being plugged up with a bunch of PSVR games. So I was just downloading to my old external hard drive. Like my whole first day with it was not my first day with it. My actual sitting down with it. I plugged in Astro's Playroom, and it was good, man. I mean, I was still playing on a 1080p screen, so I didn't really see too much of a dramatic effect. I had no HDR. So shortly after I had played this for a bit, I ended up buying a 4K HDR monitor and have been playing my PS5 on that. And it's good. I've had all the issues people are mentioning as far as like crashes and rest mode. I mean, I don't put my thing in rest mode because of just what's going around on the internet, and that may or may not have been patched. But my experience with the PS5 so far has been next to flawless. I download a game, the game installs, and I get to play it. It really isn't anything more complex than that. I mean, the launch library is small. They're really hyping the whole PS Plus and PS4 backlog, which is fine. I mean, honestly, I'd rather have access to the old games and the launch titles as opposed to just having um, only the launch titles. Because, like I said, like it's a weak launch, but what console in history has had like a just a kick-ass launch out of the gate? There's one or two titles you got to get, and then the rest are kind of just fluff you get to. So I've dabbled on the flatter side of things, but I've really been kind of just testing it. It's PSVR, but so far, it's good. I got the disc version. I haven't. I did. I tested the disc, yeah, and that works. But it's been good. It does. It definitely feels like a leap. I mean, especially, which I'm sure you'll talk about, is the DualSense, which is definitely the most. I think it's the most impressive thing about this generation going like what the DualSense can do. It's kind of cool. It can be subtle at times, but that's pretty cool. I think you like the DualSense quite a bit, right, Shug?
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
Okay, give me your thoughts.
So same as you, I've had basically no issues with the hardware. I was trying to remember. I had it crash on me one time, and I was doing something with it at the time. But for the most part, I've had no issues. It's been a flawless experience. It's super. You can just tell. You can feel that it's very definitely a much more powerful console. And I'm coming from using pros. It's everything is super slick, super quick. Everything just kind of happens as you're kind of like setting everything up. The UI, I feel is, and I'll probably get a little bit more into that at some point, but I feel that it's slick. It's not completely dissimilar than what was on the PS4, except that basically the big difference is that you had that top bar that had everything on the PS4. Now they've separated that into two. So up there you see games and media, and so you can switch between that, and then that top bar switches accordingly. And then also the where it used to be, you'd go over and you had like along that top bar above the kind of app bar, you had your profile, your friends, your system settings. All of that now is hidden until you hold that Sony button. It drops up in the bottom there now, and so that takes a little bit of getting used to. That you can no longer hold that PlayStation button to bring up that big like vertical menu that used to have all your notifications and music and everything in there. That's now all on the bottom. So that doesn't really matter. It is what it is. I would say that as far as just playing around, I pretty much bought just about every launch game that I thought was decent, with the exception of Dark Souls, because I beat the shit out of that game, or Demon Souls rather, and I just can't do it again. But it's been pretty good. Actually, funny enough, what you were talking about the launch, it's actually a lot of critics have said that it's one of the strongest launches, game-wise, in quite a few generations. I mean, I agree with you. It's not like,
I think it's a low bar.
it is. I mean, launches just aren't. I mean, if you think, I mean, really, if you go back to it, though, like back in the day with like SNES or N64 or PS1, 2, 3, they often had a killer app game that would launch with it, and then usually like garbage. Like it really wasn't. It wasn't a strong launch. I feel like the PS5 launch feels a lot like the PS4 launch in the fact that you've got a carryover Assassin's Creed, you've got a carryover Call of Duty, you've got a racing game from a semi-successful series. So because in the PS4 era, it was Black Flag, Call of Duty, whatever it was at that time, and then it was Need for Speed, and now we've got Dirt. We've got another Call of Duty in Cold War, and then obviously Valhalla. And so they're all good. I mean, the only really PS5 only game is Godfall, which I actually did buy.
I was gonna say Bug Snacks. That was my next guess. Was Bug Snacks.
So no, absolutely not. But you know what? My household, as in like any friends I had over, totally social distancing. But anyways, when I had friends over and my wife, we played the crap out of Astrobot. and you know, it's we just you can't not smile. It's a love letter to PlayStation, including PSVR. It's got some great nods. Especially, did you catch the robots in the corner there, researching the analog stick on the
Oh man,
PSVR?
like I don't know how to take that. Like that's kind of a, like it's kind of just like a slap in the face.
Oh,
It's
it was
like,
such
oh,
a fuck you.
that's a really funny joke. F you, PSVR community. We know about your complaints. We just don't give a shit. Are we swearing on this thing? Are we allowed? Are we doing that? We never
Well,
talked about that.
I have a dirty mouth. I can't.
Well, okay. All
I'm
right.
not gonna just start dropping shit, but
All right. So yeah. So I mean, yeah. I laughed. I definitely had a chuckle at that because yeah, like I said, little Astrobot researching analog sticks. And he's wearing a VR headset. I was like, oh man, that's such a low blow, but it's still funny. I enjoyed that.
just a question here, just quickly to address it. No, you're not gonna get 120 hertz going through that breakout box. You can't even get HDR through that breakout box. If so, it's limited. If you're gonna
Don't
run,
you get HDR through the version 2 breakup box?
yes, I was just gonna say the version two
Oh,
brought
okay.
it out. Yeah, exactly. But you're limited with the breakout box. It's not. You're not gonna run 120 hertz. It's the same kind of thing as we ran into before, especially if you had a Gen 1 like I do. If you really want all the functionality from your PlayStation, you're gonna have to unhook the breakout box. It's just what it is. That being
Second
said,
comment.
the PS5, Sony has said that it is VR ready, so anything breakout box related is also baked into that PS5 console. But that's for future VR, not the PSVR as it stands
Just,
now. They also make fun of the breakout box in Astrobot. Did you
oh, I didn't see that.
when you find it and you win it, they're like, um, nobody actually knows what this does, and I thought that was quite awesome for us. You know, for the 4 million people out there who get that joke.
There's
Um,
5 of us now.
but I digress. I really enjoyed the experience of the PS5, but like Ryan said, it's all about the controllers. Oh my god, it's all about the controllers. I mean, like I said, I pretty much got every PS5 game and I bought most of those just to feel how they were handling the controllers. And for those of you who haven't tried it yet, they actually sourced the technology from the same company that did the HD Rumble for the Switch, which Sony or Nintendo never took advantage of outside of some of their earlier titles like 1, 2, 3 Switch and stuff, where you could like feel marbles rolling through the controller and such. So they've used that HD Rumble feature in the PlayStation, in addition to haptic controllers that basically force feedback on your controllers. So you know, like racing games, you can actually feel a heavy brake if you're under braking under speed. You know, you can feel different guns kick back differently. Like you can actually see like assault rifles kick that trigger, or like shotguns actually you can feel it thump, and you can actually then feel like the sniper rifles like reload into the controller. So it's that HD rumble and the haptic feedback that gives you the dual sense, and it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's good. Like, so I played like Astro's Playroom is definitely kind of the showcase title where I mean that controller doesn't stop vibrating the entire time you're playing, and like I said, even when you're just walking on like a flat surface, like I thought the controller wasn't even working. There's still you can still feel like every footstep is like the slightest little vibration.
Yeah.
It's like a rumble pack, but like amped up to like 1,000. Like like I'm not sure how many gyros are in this damn thing or how they did it exactly, but the amount of different ways this controller can vibrate is fairly impressive. It's actually yeah, it's definitely something I've noticed more than anything else I've done on the PS5 so far. Is the controller definitely it's next level. I can't wait to see um like how it's used in PSVR 2, and obviously I'm assuming if they're going to put this kind of technology in their stock controllers that when we get
Oh yeah.
our
Yeah.
move control our VR move controllers, or I mean I don't want to call them moves, but our PSVR 2 controllers,
It's
if assuming it uses the same tech, then that could be something crazy, boys
it's
and
the
girls,
first thing
crazy.
it's the first thing I thought of is how sick would this be in like I was immediately thinking of like the Oculus Touch controllers, just because I was thinking more just like just I want this in the other controllers I'm using now, kind of. And that was is it really is, like I said, I've played every game this about, so I can really comment on the way that they've used different features. For race fans out there, WRC Dirt 5 was cool. It actually used the haptic triggers. WRC 9 only used it on the brake, but the way they used the rumble was ridiculous. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that some companies have phoned in the rumble already, like it's better just because it's a better rumble feature. But companies who really program the HD rumbles, I can't even explain to you, when you're driving a rally car in WRC9, you feel like you're driving over dirt in the controller. Like it feels like little dirt pebbles bouncing underneath that controller, in addition to thumping when you jump and shifting gears and all those little nuances. It's absolutely sick. So that tech, oh man, but there's a but here. The battery life on those dual sense controllers, it says straight up there when you research it that it varies, and I can tell you that if you are playing a game like Astro, for example, 3 hours, boom, controller's done. So,
Yeah.
like, my recommendation is buy two controllers, because I was switching often. I would say Call of Duty, Astro, and like Dirt 5 really, really work that controller. Now you can turn those things down and off. It also has an HD speaker on it, and I say HD because it's a much, much higher definition speaker, and like you can hear pings of sand, and like in Astro you can hear lots of different things, like different
Well,
surfaces and rain and
I wonder how they'll use that, because I mean the DS4 also has a speaker
yes,
that is super underutilized. Like I mean, whenever my DS4 makes a noise, it always surprises me because I
yeah,
forget that the
it's
feature of
probably
the
not going
DS4.
to, but this speaker is supposedly substantially better, and I still think it's
It
going to
sounds
be.
better.
It is, yeah. It's still going to be underutilized, but maybe it'll get more attention because developers might really want to just take it that extra bit because they're already thinking about the
Man, it's
controller.
like the touchscreen. Same thing with touchscreens, though, right? Like, oh, look, the DualShock had a touchscreen, and nothing used that touchscreen
In the
other than to like
beginning,
access a menu. Like, oh,
in
you
the
need to
begi-
access a menu.
in the beginning, I would say that like open world games are using it for their menu screen and everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The menu, you put this touchscreen, and it's being used to like navigate menus. There's better ways to use that thing. I mean, Astrobot was a perfect example. Not when you're just flicking and stuff, and you're throwing those throwing stars and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Like there's
Oh, it's
definitely uses
wicked
for
if
this
you
thing.
use it. Yeah,
But no, yeah, no one seemed to do it on DS4, so I don't know what's going to change on the DualSense. It's nice to have the feature there,
I doubt
but
it.
I don't know if it's going to change between PS4 and PS5 as far as that touchscreen feature goes.
But they put it back in there, so maybe I don't know. Maybe there's plans to use it. I mean, first party maybe. I know that some of the information that's coming out about Ratchet and Clank, it's gonna be another major showcase, like showcase title. Like supposedly like there's a double barrel shotgun, and you like pull the trigger once, and it goes to like a semi hard lock, and then you can pull through that second lock, and it'll unload the other barrel, and then you'll feel the whole gun like reload, and that's just really cool shit.
I totally agree. I can't wait to see that used more. Like I said, I can't wait till we actually get. I mean, I like I said, the idea of like pulling back on let's just move controller for example, pulling that trigger and feeling the kickback on the top of the controller, if for a gun or something like that, like that's where my head immediately goes as far as like that kind of haptics and stuff go. So hopefully, like I said, Sony commits to. I mean, they pretty much said PSVR 2 is coming. So as long as they commit to making sure that it's that the tech that we're seeing now is in there, then we should be laughing. So
I think yeah. I
uh,
mean, and that's something you guys are gonna hear us say often. It's like, um, PSVR 2 I think is inevitable. Um, and I mean, if you guys watched our first episode there, we were doing a lot of kind of I guess predictions really moving forward into the PS5, and there's been a lot of things that have hit the media since then in regard to messaging around the PSVR, and I don't really feel like we're in a different position. I mean, we've seen that certain companies are taking advantage of the PS5 um, power, especially if they had their games had previously had unlocked frame rates and unlocked resolution, like variable resolution. But I mean, that's something that Ryan will get into a lot more because he sure tested that stuff. But bottom line is, Sony is still, I think, taking a very firm stance with their silence of the fact that the PSVR is going to belong on the PS4. There's going to be some advantages if you want to play that backwards compatibility on your PS5, but for the most part, that tech is going to belong with that tech, and the PS5 is going to be for the PSVR 2, and I think that that's the way Sony has to play it. So, and someone in chat there asked if there's any word on new PlayStation Move controllers. No, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get. Sony's not going to release new controllers with the light tracking anymore. They're gonna cut and run and keep it very separate, I think. So, and anybody who tells you otherwise is dreaming.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sorry, I just noticed my chat's not refreshing on the screen, and it just totally got me sidetracked. Yeah, I mean, Sony keeps reiterating that point over and over and over that they still back VR. And they haven't obviously. Well, their message about PSVR 2 has been pretty wishy-washy. I understand why. I mean, they just released a new PS5 console. The last thing they want to do is start like already hyping up your next big purchase. For those of us in the community, and I'm sure, like I said, it's a relatively small number compared to PS5s, but it's there, and they still don't want to like muddy the waters with their message. Right now, it's all about PS5. And I understand too that a lot of us hardcore PSVR owners, like, we really want to see what's next, right? At this point in time, we said before, like, the PSVR is aging, and it's aging super, super fast. So of course we want the next big thing. I think VR as an industry just moved faster than Sony even could have predicted. I think Sony's plans for another headset in 2022. Which is my personal prediction. That, I mean, Jim Ryan said as much in that one quote, which I know he wasn't talking about PSVR, he was talking about VR, but I would still read that as PSVR 2 in 2022. And I think that was their plan from the get-go. And just because the tech aged out faster than they expected, and the Quest 2 kind of pushed what people want out of VR a bit more, Sony doesn't care about that. They want to make the console or the headset they want to make, and they'll take their time doing it. I mean, even now, everyone's, I want wireless, I want, HDR, I want 4K screens. I mean, Sony has to sit here and not only meet minimum or medium VR demands, but still make that headset affordable. Because everything that we want out of this headset now, with wireless connectivity, but having a wired headset too, so we can still like maximize the use of the PS5 and streaming and Wi-Fi 6, all that stuff. I mean, the cost of that headset is not going to be $300 in the current. If that came out today, that's not a $300 or $400 headset. With the amount of tech that we want and expect out of these things, it's going to be honestly, I don't know how they're going to get it cheaper than the cost of a PS5 currently. Now, obviously, time down the road,
Oculus might have set a bar though. Like, I mean, they might have
I
set
think
a price point.
Oculus, I think, is taking a hit on those things. Oculus is,
they totally are.
Yeah, but I mean, so.
That might be the stance. You get them in and you make it on software.
I could see 2 years down the road when the Quest 2 comes out. I'm assuming the Quest 3, when the Quest 3 comes out like 2 months before the PSVR 2 comes out, which I totally see happening. I could see the Quest 3 having a higher price point, because it's going to, what they sacrificed for the PSVR 2, they're going to put back in for the PSVR. What they sacrificed for the Quest 2, they're going to put back into the Quest 3 as far as quality, build. I mean, maybe they'll actually put a Halo strap on there and include that, and not just some janky little Velcro thing. And they'll make a headset that now is worth paying, instead of $300 for the base model, now the base model is $450, and people will pay that. If they guarantee like that much more quality out of it, then they can kind of set their own price. If the Quest 2 sells so much where it actually does sell VR to the masses, then they can up the price on the Quest 3 as long as it delivers on that additional price. So I don't think they have to sweat the price yet, but it really depends on, I mean, we're talking 2 years down the road. Yep. So who the heck knows what's going to happen in that time?
I think, but I actually still firmly believe that $300 price point is going to become a price point. I think, like, it's also,
I don't want that.
Either do I. I don't want it to be a race to the bottom, but I think, and you can feel the cheapness on the Quest 2 a little bit. You can. It feels, it's always going to feel a little cheap because they're trying to make it light. No VR headset that I've ever felt, and now I've got a G2. It still feels quite light, and so because of that, it doesn't feel super solid. But regardless, there were some corners cut, like you said, on the Quest 2, and I mean, and like it's all just conjecture at this point. But what I really meant to more just kind of say is that my point is that as we've seen the last 2 weeks unfold, we've seen things like we've seen the developers of was it Wands, I believe, who came out and said we are halting any development on PSVR stuff or even patches on existing titles until Sony gets a lot more clarity going to developers on what their future plans are. But even that messaging's been a little confused because it seems like certain developers do know some things. And that's the problem with Sony is it's like I agree with the need to keep the PSVR on the PS4 and just not muddy the communication. I think it's unrealistic for us to expect that Sony's going to talk PSVR 2 because look at the PS5. We like Sony literally other than the fact that we knew that it was coming this year because Microsoft kind of made the move first. We literally did not hear. Think about it. Like, when did we actually see the PS5? I mean, I remember we were in like lockdown, going, "Are they going to talk about this thing?" Like, we hadn't seen it. We hadn't heard a price. What was it? Wasn't it like July?
No, man. We had, for a date. I don't think we got a date till like August.
No, but like
I mean,
but when did those pre-orders go out? Because it was the pre-orders went out the same day that they actually revealed that thing, and I'm pretty sure that was like
oh
July or
no, dude, that was
is
September.
is that September? Really?
That was September
So
13th.
so I mean to borrow Ryan's line, boys and girls, like if that's Sony's play on their marquee system to not say anything for 2 months before. I mean, it's also the rules are all different right now with the world that we live in, right? I still say that I think Oculus slammed that Quest 2 through to capitalize on the fact that we're all in isolation basically globally and need connections, and it's a perfect time to launch a cost-effective headset to do that, especially for business solutions. But um, I think that probably caught Sony off guard, like you said. But I think that also carries through to the PS5 and the Xbox One Series X and the Series S, but that's a piece of shit. We won't talk about that. But regardless, I think we're in a situation where certain plans are being pushed faster. Some plans are delayed because of everything going on. It's just a weird state. But pulling us out of the conjecture and moving us into the real, why don't you talk a little bit about your some of your tests amongst PSVR titles?
Okay, so I mean, like I said, I haven't been like I've been playing a bit of PS5 flat, but I've been playing as much PSVR as I could. I still haven't played enough. I haven't played Blood and Truth yet. That's my next one, which I know is kind of the one that's been confirmed to already be like, they're saying 90 frames per second and 4K on the monitor. And so by all accounts, it's supposed to look awesome on the PS5. It's the one game I haven't tested yet. Because I already know it's basically confirmed to look good. That being said, there's been basically 5 games that have come out and said that we look better on the PS5 and you should check us out.
Hey, can I stop you there for 2 seconds? I just want to
Yeah.
preface this by something that I feel gets confused a lot by people out there. So when people, whether it be YouTubers like us or developers or Sony or anything, and what the heck is going on with my monitor here? Sorry, guys. Talk about resolution. There's a really big misconception, I think, there. So for people who maybe aren't as techie or aware, so there is the resolution of the headset. So on the PSVR, it's a 1080 display, but it's split between 2 eyes and blah 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 blah. So when you're looking at resolution, you got to look at the headset or the per eye, and then they're rendering twice on those eyes. So they're splitting up those pixels, so it's complicated. But the big thing is, without getting into the tech, is that you've got resolution of your headset, then you've got resolution of what the game might be being rendered at, and then they basically downsample it from that. So you'll hear things talked about a game it could be a 4K assets that are being then downsampled for what you're seeing in the headset. And so a lot of people you hear all the time saying, well, how are they supposed to boost the resolution that the headset hasn't changed? It's like, well, a lot of games didn't actually max the resolution out that you were seeing in the headset, especially your graphically impressive ones. They're running at lower resolution and they're quite soft. There's a lot of anti-aliasing happening. You're not necessarily seeing them at the maximum of the headset's capabilities. And so I think that's something that people don't necessarily understand. In addition to the resolution of the headset and the resolution of what the game is being sampled at, like I said, there's then the resolution that you're actually seeing in the headset when it finally gets to you. And that doesn't even take into consideration frame rates, which again can be confusing because that breakout box is basically doubling frame rates to your headset. And there's locked frame rates and there's variable frame rates, and all these things play into what Ryan's going to get into, I think, here. And so I think that's just there's a lot of I think there's a lot of muddied communication out there of what people think this headset can and can't do, especially as we move into more powerful tech.
Like the headset, like I said, the resolution of the headset, that's limited. That can't change. There's a max in that headset. But like I said, the stuff behind it, as far as like pixel refresh rate, everything else like that, can give not the illusion, I guess it's actual, but it can basically make that display look better. Pixels are just, they're changing color faster. Everything's happening just a bit quicker. So it gives that look of it being, the resolution is the same, but because there's so much happening behind the scenes, it looks better. And I'm playing right now the Star Wars Squadrons, which is one of the games that that utilizes the PS5 thanks to dynamic resolution. Which remind me to talk about that because I have some comments. But so dynamic resolution has been kind of the buzzword with PSVR, right? Oh my God, if your game has dynamic resolution, which also Blood and Truth has, then like as long as you've set that up properly as a developer, then you can basically maximize the PS5 for your PSVR or PS4 game, right? So a lot of these PS4 titles, a lot of non-VR titles do have dynamic resolution, or at least more than what we have for PSVR. As far as I know, the only two that actually officially have it are Squadrons and Blood and Truth. They both said they use dynamic resolution. The other three examples, and Dreams, and Dreams. And you can see it in playing Squadrons. I'm playing the video now. It'll be hard to tell on this stream, but Squadrons sees a noticeable boost. It's nothing crazy. It's not going to change the game. But a lot of the stuff in the distance that was like kind of blurry and pixely before, it just looks clear. Like it's just like an overall, just like a nicer image. It doesn't change the game, but it just kind of makes everything look prettier.
And a lot of modern games in the flat world use variable resolution, and they'll scale it up and down depending on what area you're in or what you're doing or how many things are on screen, and they try to do it so it's not noticeable. But it's not uncommon for games to scale up and down, especially the Xbox One, which struggled day one to keep up. And like for example, the Series S on the Xbox has a lot of variable resolution happening because it's underpowered compared to the two new consoles as well. Anyways, and I don't want to get off topic there, but just putting it out there that's something that it's not uncommon. I just don't think we've seen it in VR very often because games are optimized so heavily for us to have a good PSVR experience that they're often locked resolution, locked frame rate. And
like I said, I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah,
I want to come back to that once I cover this. Yeah. So Squadrons looks better. It's great. First Contact Entertainment, the guys that make Firewall, were like, hey, guess what, guys? Mr. PSVR Frank, is he still PSVR Frank? Or is he just Frank now? He came out and put a little video there. He's Firewall Frank. I knew that. It's so he has a little aim controller and he's moving around. He's like, oh my God, guess what? And then he says like Firewall 0 hour has been optimized for PS5 for whatever, blah, 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 right? I played it. It's identical. As far as I can see, it's identical. So I don't know if First Contact's just blowing smoke, just trying to like capitalize on PS5 and like just trying to be mentioned again, or what. But as far as I could tell, it is the exact same game. Comparative footage, like I said, it looks. I tried so hard to find anything, and I thought maybe on one stage, one of the newer levels, the game might have looked better, but that could have just been me like placeboing myself.
There's a lot of that, I think. There's going to be a lot of that. Now,
and the reason why I say that, okay, you want to go first before?
I'm going to jump. I'm just saying a quick thing for those of you coming from a standard PS4. If you're jumping onto a PS5, your mind will get blown probably because there is quite a bit of difference for you guys because the PS5 is running. The PS5 is going to run it's running as a Pro, in its backwards compatibility mode. So you will see big differences in certain games, whether that be just a bump in resolution or certain games like, say, for example, like Dirt Rally, added rain effects and cracked windshields and smoother frame rates and what's going on over there? um, anyways, so yeah, um, you're distracting me with your bright light over there.
Sorry.
But I just wanted to put it out there for those of you that are coming from a PS4. You're going to be happy.
Yeah, and I should say, well, I'm comparing PS4 Pro and
Yeah.
PS5 footage, so obviously the Pro would utilize that stuff a bit more anyways. That being said, like I said, Firewall, I couldn't see a goddamn thing. That being said, Minecraft gets a nice little boost. It looks the same, but stuff loads in faster, because it uses, like, I'm not sure what they call it, but it loads ahead of you, right? So you can kind of see that you can always see the horizon. If you get high enough, you can see the horizon, right? There's that fog, and just stuff just seems to, like, it's a smoother experience. I think it runs at 90 frames per second on that one. I haven't confirmed that, but it's an overall smoother experience. So for
Yep.
those Minecraft guys, it's not anything crazy. It's just more fluid, right? Then we got into, like I said, Blood and Truth. I haven't played. It's supposed to be awesome. But Dreams, oh my god! If there's ever a showcase for what dynamic resolution means and doesn't mean, Dreams is it. Everything I tried yesterday, 2 days ago, I played on PS5. I streamed it live, and it was good. The quality of a Dreams experience can vary depending upon the creator and what they actually made. But I played it. I enjoyed it. I thought it looked clear, but I wasn't quite sure. Then I went and played the PS4 Pro, the same games. After I played PS5, everything looked like someone smeared Vaseline on my lenses, and I couldn't believe just how much clearer it was in the PS5. I'm gonna dive back in and actually play a bunch more experiences now before I put that video together. But it was so clear that, like, dynamic resolution is real, and if you're a Dreams guy and you have it, like, get in there and play it, because it is substantially better. It's a showcase for what the PS5 can do for I mean, it's a flat game too, but it's a showcase for what the PS5 can do for PSVR titles.
Well,
And
the Dreams was designed at the outset as a game that would scale through the generations. Like there
yeah,
was a lot of it's literally basically a game engine and a music creation program in one, and so it was designed to be very open ended. And if I've talked to some people who played Dreams on VRN flat on the PS4, there was actually quite a few experiences there that it would actually say you can't play this. You had to have a pro. So Dreams was definitely designed to, at a certain point, go, nope, you can't play that, or scale it up if possible. I've even seen people who in game allowed you to toggle on and off effects. So the Dreams itself is super scalable in its resolution and also in its frame rate, and that's what I noticed the most. I actually noticed that games were running very, very smooth.
yeah, no, totally. It's honestly, it's night and day when you go even from the Pro. I can't imagine what, like, OG PS4 users are using. Man, that's gonna blow your mind. If you're a Dreams guy on an OG PS4, the PS5 is going to blow your fragile little mind, because it looks absolutely stunning. It's crazy how good it looks. Like, I'm not joking around. Like, even the most jankiest, ugliest experiences just look clear and just ran better. It's awesome. It's awesome to see that. And it sucks that that's the list. 5 games that apparently, according to First Contact, I think it's only 4 games, and they're blowing smoke. But
Yeah.
it's there, and that's it. There's no other devs have come out and said, like, oh, don't worry guys, we're gonna patch our game, and we're gonna figure this out. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna happen with 1 or 2 games, but no one's talking about it, and I can't help but feel like dynamic resolution was something that Sony forgot about and forgot to, like, mention to developers, like, hey, when we release this PS5 thing, if you use this dynamic resolution thing, it'll make your game look like way better if you use it properly. But no, we're not going to mention that, because, I mean, like I said, it just seems like happenstance that just these 4 games can utilize PS5, and everything else gets faster loading times, which is awesome. I'm not going to say that's not cool, but as far as, like the fact that we know the PS5 can upgrade PS or PSVR titles, and that's all in devs, and no one's doing it. To me, that just screams that no one knew they could.
Well,
I mean,
I think there's a lot of things happening. I think that the Sony was keeping pretty tight-lipped about the PS5 period. I think Sony also slammed the PS5 through, so I think some people were caught off guard with that. I think that you also have a lot of developers in the YouTube world that are smaller, with limited resources, and time and money, and so with that, they're just trying to get the game certified anyways. And some of these Sony's very tough in their certification process, which most of us know. And so I think that like variable frame rate is not a priority. Like they're just trying to get a locked frame rate to get the damn thing to run properly so it can get certified. And so I think that's another thing contributing to that. But if you look at like the games that you just mentioned, so there's Dreams, which in its core design is designed to be scalable. Then you've got Star Wars, which was released close enough that they were probably able to make some decisions.
well, they used I mean, that's an EA thing, and they also
Yeah,
use dynamic resolution on Battlefront too. So that could just be something they kind of
of
just
course.
use.
But like we said, a lot of flat games do use it.
Yeah,
And in
a
VR, it
lot
seems
more
to be.
games.
I would just say that there's a good chance that the developers who worked on Squadrons was like they at least kind of had an idea of what might happen down the road. They might have been having a hard time with the hardware anyways, and Sony kind of might have said to them, well, you could probably take advantage of this moving forward. So that could have been a conversation. And then and then you look at Blood and Truth, and well, that's a first party title, and that team's been continually updating that game anyways with stuff.
Yeah,
And
but
so
there's been how many like so that we have two first party titles that actually utilize dynamic resolution. Two. I mean, we have way more than two PS like first party VR
yeah,
titles that
but
just don't.
Mike, the key to that was that they were a first party game that was still updating that game. Like they had been adding in new missions, and I wouldn't be surprised if the game wasn't already using dynamic resolution for the Pro, that some of that stuff was patched in on one of those last updates. And that's the thing, and that's ultimately what it comes down to is that people's expectations from what they hope developers are going to do for their old games, I think, are often unrealistic or very hopeful, at least in nature, in the fact that most of these teams have either moved on or been like dispersed. Um, they're not going to go back to titles. I mean, I can tell you that even with the 3D rudder behind closed doors, there were quite a few challenges there with studios implementing the rudder just because the team was gone and they weren't going to revisit it. And in some of these VR games, these are very small teams working on it. They're just not going to go back for it. They just can't. So
And that
you can't
to me
plan
that
for it.
no, but I disagree. I think you could have planned for it. I think if you had mentioned early on, I mean, you say some of these games struggle to get hit that 60 frames per second, like hit that minimum requirement that Sony has for PSVR. But you see something like Blood and Truth, where I mean that is a showcase title for the headset. So you can't tell me like a game like I don't know, like I'm drawing a complete blank on anything now, which is ridiculous. But just pick Saints and Sinners. Saints and Sinners. All right, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
That thing came out this year. It sees no improvement on the PS5. You can't like Sony wasn't like, hey guys, just I mean, we had this dynamic resolution thing that could seriously up your game, and it seemed like that conversation never happened. Even with more recent devs, we've seen enough games come out within the last year where it could have happened and it's not. And like you said, most of these devs have moved on or dispersed or have simply they're not dealing with their games anymore. So for the community to sit there or for the community to think that we're going to see a bunch more titles get optimized, I think is very optimistic. I think realistically, what we got at launch, I'm sure we'll see a few more, and even maybe going forward with newer releases, we might see those things optimized for PS5. But like going into the back library, I would love to see Rush of Blood get a PS5,
Yeah,
patch.
right. Yeah.
As I said, I'd love to see so many of these old like Resident Evil 7. Give me a PS5 patch. That'd be friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
But like you
But
said,
that won't
everyone's moved
happen.
on,
Yeah. Like I mean that
and
team's already on Resident Evil. They're already done Resident Evil 8. So who knows
and
what they're
that's
working on, yeah.
but that's my point. Like I just think that this dynamic resolution thing, which everyone is kind of putting their hopes and prayers for PSVR for the next 2 years,
No.
isn't going to be what we want it to be. I could be wrong. I don't think I am though, because like I said, it's been I haven't seen any social media feeds, not that I follow everyone, where it's been like, oh my god, like we can totally optimize our game, and no one has come out and said that at all, like other than First Contact, who I think could be lying. So, like it's so like I mean, what do you like? I just don't know. Like I don't know what to do with this information. It's like we have Sony put out the opportunity to make your games better, but because of the power of the PS4 or because of their just whoever's in charge there forgot to mention this to devs. It seems like we're just not going to see what the PS5 can do for the PS4 or for the PSVR beyond what we have now. And like I said, anything going forward, the odd game moving forward, I think, not like every game.
Well,
I don't know.
one of my friends in the community, who I won't mention by name, he still really thinks that he's really hopeful that Sony's gonna, there's gonna either Sony or some developers gonna find some way to like wiggle their way in through a back door and tap some PS5 power, like outside of just these basic things like a dynamic resolution and additional frame rates and stuff, but like really tapping the graphical power. And I think that's highly unlikely. I think that what you were saying, like I think a game like Hitman 3 coming out in VR, I think it's probably going to take advantage of the PS5. As far as resolution and frame rate goes, it's going to it's going to work it if it can. It's going to have to scale from the PS4 to the PS5. I think it's going to do that. I don't think it's going to be game changing. I think it's going to look a lot like the Pro, a refined version of the Pro. I think that's really what it comes down to, right? Don't buy PS5 for PSVR. I still really believe that. Sony, Sony's they're not leaving VR, but I think that they're distancing themselves from the PSVR a little bit, only because at some point they do have to be looking forward and moving forward, and you want them to. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, you want Sony to ignore you because you want them to be directing their attention to the next thing instead of putting the PSVR on life support. There's still
Yeah.
I think we got some awesome games like we've got Hitman, we've got we've got Sniper Elite coming out for the PSVR. Which could be sick. Alvo could be good if they can get their shit together. There's some great titles coming, but like it's just it's in its last year. I mean, really, I think as we move forward here, and so that's kind of just the sad truth of it a little bit.
No, I'm right there with you. It's going to be. I mean, it's going to be a rough 2 years, in my own personal opinion, as far as like
Man, I hope they don't
we'll
wait
get some
that long.
games for sure. I'm sticking to my guns here. I was on the Without Parole guys yesterday, like October 2022. I'm sticking to. I don't know. I can't see it being any sooner than 2022. Maybe earlier in the year, but I just think it takes that long to kind of get their crap together with the PS5, and it takes a solid year really to kind of like get a solid launch title, a selection of titles where a PS5 come next Christmas is a much more appealing offer than like an Xbox Series X. So I think their focus for the next year really I think is going to be on PS5,
Totally.
and but I honestly think it won't be until after next Christmas where we hear about PSVR 2 officially, and that to me it's backed up by the fact that we didn't hear anything about PS5 until like what I think February or March is when they did that Mark Cerny thing.
Yep.
Up until then we were just like, what the heck, like where is this thing? How come we've heard nothing about it? And we heard nothing. It was just all just like rumor and conjecture until 6 months before the console's release. That's crazy. That's
Yeah, I know.
crazy.
I know.
Shout out to Delirium Drew. I'm not losing that bet, man. 2022. It's coming out 2022. You want to if it's January, I'm still right, but I think it'll be late 2022. Yeah, and like I said, to your point, you just said I don't recommend PS5 for PSVR owners. That goes doubly for a few different things. Like I said, I'm still in the middle of testing a bunch of stuff, but there are games that are just missing from the PS5 store. Like PSVR games that are just missing from the store. Last time I checked, I couldn't find Gollum. Even like a game like Battlezone, which I tested out. You know that judder you get in Squadrons in the like during some of the well, if you play on PS5, that judder happens a lot more. But Battlezone, that judder is there the whole game, so it's unplayable. I mean, if you got motion sick, then I would have been throwing up all over the place. Like it was bad, and obviously they're still optimizing it. But I mean, I'm not sure. Like, is it up to the Battlezone devs to now optimize their game for PS5? That game is 5 years old almost.
No,
Like, they're not. They've moved on. They're
no,
not going to come back and patch Battlezone.
dude,
So we're left with
no.
these.
You got one. I would say you look at the games that came in the last year, and there actually hasn't been a great year for 2020 for the PSVR, and that's teams aren't going to go back for it, man. They're just not going to. It's just not going to happen. Um, it's just unrealistic.
Well, and
And
especially. Oh no, I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry. I keep cutting
no,
you off
it's
because
no,
I
it's
keep having
fine.
these
It's
points.
no, not at all.
Um,
I
and
just
we have to understand too that the PS5 PSVR community is tiny. We are teeny tiny. I mean, there's what 2 million headsets, I think is the number, or 2 million PS5s are out there right now in the wild. I think that's what their number is, 2 million. If even a quarter of those people have PSVR headsets, which I think is a very lofty number, they're gonna patch their game for 500,000 people who realistically only like how many of those people actually have Battlezone, for instance. There is no monetary reason why any of these developers would patch their game for PS5. Even Blood and Truth. If Blood and Truth, like how many PS5 owners with a PSVR headset also have Blood and Truth? That's got to be a teeny tiny number. To sit there and expect developers to cater their games to that small number, it makes no sense.
no, it
Now
doesn't.
you can talk, Shug.
Well, I was
I
gonna
keep
say
cutting you off.
somebody asked about Resident Evil 8, and that's another interesting point. I would say I would bet a lot of money that no, you're not gonna see VR for Resident Evil 8, and I'll tell you why. Is it recently came out that Sony paid for? I knew Sony had paid for the PSVR version of Res 8. That's why it's not on PC even all these years later. They paid $4 million for Resident Evil 7 to be in PSVR. That came out recently.
Quick.
Yep.
Apparently that 4 million was for 1 year exclusivity. It wasn't a permanent thing.
Well, it seems like they got it.
I think, I think, and that goes to both our points now, is that I think the 1 year exclusivity thing was enough for Capcom to be like, we'll just VR it for Sony, and then by the time it comes out for Steam, we don't care anymore.
They
And
just yeah. Well, they're not going to go back to it.
yeah.
That's really what came down to it. But my point is, Sony is not going to spend $4 million now at this point in the PSVR's lifespan because when they did it last time, that was a real big power move. Very similar to like what we've seen. Like Oculus has been throwing a lot of money these days at titles to get a lot of exclusives and a lot of first shots at games for the Oculus because they're big moves trying to push their hardware. Sony did that back then. I think it worked. Resident Evil 7 to this day still gets mentioned. But financially it doesn't make sense for them to invest that money in Res 8, and it wasn't Capcom's money that did Resident Evil 7 in VR. So I think that's something unfortunately we're not going to see because it would be sick. I don't really want to play Resident Evil 8 not in VR. It's kind of like you get ruined on it, but I think that's just where we're at right now. And like I said, I think Sony's being, and someone also mentioned in chat there about the fact that developers are being quiet about PSVR 2. And I think that's two things. One, most of them don't know anything, and I know that for a fact for some of the guys I have talked to. And the other reason is if they are working on PSVR 2 stuff, they're not talking about it. Like, that's just the way, I mean, so silence doesn't necessarily mean they don't care. It could also be a good thing.
No, to me, it sounds like NDA stuff. Whenever you
Yes.
even hear a developer mention it, it very much sounds like, they always say, and if the PSVR 2 could, there's lots of like you can tell they're beating around the bush, like they know stuff, but they just can't talk about it. And whether they know just like 2% more than the rest of us, they still like they are obviously under very strict NDAs. Like I would say, just the vibe I've gotten from just some developers who even just bring it up are just like you can just tell they're just like they're so scared to even mention knowing something about it that they just they claim complete ignorance, but there's no way in the world that some of these devs don't know. I mean, like I said, so how many first party VR developers are still in the VR market that we know of that we haven't heard, Farpoint. They released Farpoint and haven't released anything now in what, like 3 years?
And we know they're working on PSVR thing. So
right?
We're either going to get one last massive hurrah from them, but my vote has always been they are working on a killer PSVR 2 launch title.
Farpoint 2. It's got to be Farpoint 2.
Maybe.
I want Farpoint 2.
Well, and I do, and I think if they did a Farpoint 2, I think that we're going to see them going after, like, on the scale of like a Halo. I think that that's they know, Sony knows, everybody knows that that's something someone still hasn't done, is really just fucking blow it out of the water with a VR title that the flat community just like is willing to like sell their children for. And I think so, because, and people always talk about how VR still hasn't seen its killer app. I mean, people will say Asgard's Wrath, they'll say Half-Life Alyx, they might say Population 1. All of those are, fair, but they're still not the games that are making people who play flat games cry.
Yeah, no, for sure. One quick little side note here. Delirium Drew wanted to say something on my channel here. It says 2020 wasn't a great year, Shug. Saints and Sinners, Squadrons, Iron Man, Minecraft VR, Until You Fall, Budget Cuts, Swordsman, Dreams, Pistol Whip. The list goes on. These are mostly top 20 games. And he's not wrong. They are some great games, but like I said, if you look at the library, like every year I put together my top 30 games of the year, and it's usually relatively easy to kind of get it down to 30 out of like 60 or even like 80 titles. This year there's like 35. There was like 35 games worth mentioning that came out in the entire year. There was literally not a lot. I mean, it's been dry. We're basically down to this year being like less than one game a week. It seems like, which is by PSVR's history, low. I mean, they're bragging about 500 games in total released for the headset, and I think that's across the world and including like other stores where we don't see a lot of like the Asian market releases and stuff. But they're saying over 500 titles, and this year we've seen less than a tenth of that. So it's definitely drying up, which isn't a bad thing either, because one thing that we're also getting, especially you, Shug, can attest to too, is game fatigue. We're getting so many of these indie games and these little like solid, that it was getting ridiculous. I mean, there was games out there where I was like, how did this pass Sony QA? So it's kind of a good thing about the less the titles is that the ones that should be coming out ideally will be of better quality. They're not going to be amazing. I mean, I don't know, like Swords of Gargantua comes out in 2 weeks. I haven't played it yet. It looks all right. But that's the first release we've had in like a month now. So it's definitely slowing down, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And like I said, the PSVR has a massive library of amazing titles, especially the first party stuff. All the exclusives that PSVR has are amazing. They're still the reason why I say if you have a PlayStation console, OG Pro or PS5, then PSVR is still worth buying in 2020 and 2021. But like I said, you're looking at the past now, not to the future of the headset, I guess. Minus, like I said, Hitman, Sniper Elite. Those are the big two.
That could be a big one. In fact, PSVR Zone just talked about how they think it's dead, and that the Hitman 3 is the last AAA game we'll be seeing next year or whatever. You might not be wrong, but Sony also has a really weird habit of just dropping bombs when it comes to VR. I think you're right, that like I don't think we're going to see a lot of marquee titles come out, but I think Sniper Elite could be freaking awesome. But like I'm working on a video right now that is straight up going to be a Quest 2 versus PSVR, and because that's where a lot of people are at right now, whether they're looking to upgrade or whether they're buying a headset for the first time. And it's tough because Sony's got the games, but they don't have a lot to offer moving forward. I don't think. I think it's you're already seeing it. It's even just for as a Quest owner, it's like you got In Death that is now picked up by a different studio, and they're continuing to develop In Death with DLC only for Quest. You've got Population 1 and Dash Dash World. They came out on Quest first. They say they'll be out on PSVR. Hopefully they are, but they're not right now, and that hurts. And you've got a Warhammer game coming out on the Quest soon, and there's just Oculus is making
the Jurassic Park game that comes out pretty soon.
Oculus is making moves. They're spending a lot of money right now. For all of us that bitch about the Facebook connection, Facebook also has deep pockets, and they have other motives to see VR succeed than just gaming. So they got money to burn on it. I think we're gonna see Sony double down again on VR. I think that's inevitable. They're not gonna they're not going to lose the momentum that they are losing the momentum
They are,
they've got,
yeah.
but they're not going to want to lose their place in the VR industry. I think we've gotten to the point now in VR, especially thanks to Oculus with the Quest and Quest 2. VR is not going anywhere. It's growing faster now than it ever has before. Um, Sony's not dumb. I think we're going to see a standalone headset. It's going to be a standalone headset that's going to go up against the Quest and link to the PS5. I think any other move would be stupid. We've even heard rumors now, and I think they're just straight up rumors about the PSP branding being attached to a PSVR so that it goes with the standalone. I don't think that's going to happen.
So when you say when you say standalone headset, would you mean like basically like wirelessly connecting to the PS5, like streaming from the PS5, or do you mean like like an actual like PlayStation, like you buy the headset, there's no PS5 involved?
No, I think you're going to see a straight competition for a Quest 2 or a Quest 3 as a standalone device. That it's going to be that, and it can tether to the PS5, whether wirelessly or cabled or probably both, and then leverage that horsepower. So it would be a very similar situation to the Quest and the Link cable. I think that's where VR is going. The standalone's important, the wireless is important, but the horsepower for some of your AAA experiences is going to be necessary.
Yeah, I'm actually with you 100%
And Sony
on
would
that
be
one.
stupid not to do that. They really would. Like, if they bring out a headset that has to just be tethered to a PS5, I think that it's not going to happen. They're going to make something that goes standalone as well. That is one of the reasons the Quest 2 is selling so well, is that
Yeah.
it's one solution. There isn't
No, I
that
mean
there isn't that additional ask of now you need to have a console.
I love my Quest 2, and like I say, it doesn't have the power of a PS4. I mean, the PSVR still has better, not better, but has a plenty more powerful, more pretty games. It can just do things the Quest can't. But that wireless connectivity or just that wireless gaming, when it comes to VR, it's an absolute game changer. And like you said, like to release the new headset and not have it be wireless, to me, yeah, like I say, is a big issue. I know now you've got to talk about battery life of these things and whatnot, which are concerns for down the road, but they got to. Like I said, being able to tether, yeah, to maximize that power would be awesome. Like I said, think I said last time we talked, my ideal solution to this thing would be, I guess it kind of goes back to like dynamic resolution, where if you could somehow basically play every game you can on the PS5 using the maximum PS5 settings,
Yeah.
but then have like a dumbed down graphically a super dumbed down version to play like standalone, like away from your PS5, like it's loaded into your headset. To me, like a Switch basically. Switch is the best example, but that would be amazing, where you could take your games on the go and you wouldn't get the full graphical fidelity of being near your
Yeah, it might
PS5.
play lower. It might be just lower scaled.
But
Yeah.
but if you could do that, like man, I would be like I would be so happy with that. I think that's a pipe dream myself. I think it's a bit asking a bit much. But
You know what? You might be right, and you got me thinking about that, because one of the big things that we see the tech community talking about, especially as it relates to VR, is eye tracking, and very and using very dynamic foveated rendering techniques where they're tracking eye movements, and that's not a pipe dream. That's being worked on, like to the point where it's even being talked about showing up in like premiere versions of like the G2 and stuff like that. Maybe not fully implemented, but tracking eyes. And what that allows them to do is only put horsepower where you can see. You guys are used to foveated rendering in our world right now is basically you can see sometimes where the resolution's higher in a certain point, and then if you kind of look out to your peripherals, you can see that it might be blurrier, and sometimes that's more aggressive than other games, and that's something that the Pro, it pushed that out often so that you couldn't see it as much or got rid of it entirely. But that tracked to your eyes so that now you couldn't even try to trick it and look to the sides, puts all that horsepower into this area that you're looking at here instead of having to render this whole world. What they're saying is that can take the GPU demands way down for VR. And then you look at that technology, and then you look at what the Unreal Engine 5 engine was talking about, or what Unreal was talking about with the Unreal Engine 5. They were talking about doing the exact same stuff of like basically resource management and just piping textures through, when needed, instead of having to preload worlds and preload textures. And a lot of that is also because of like the the standardization of like SSDs becoming a thing. So you take those two pieces of technology, say like SSD and then like eye tracking, and it becomes not too unrealistic to see a standalone headset that's going to be able to do some pretty impressive shit with a lot less power.
Yeah, I mean, I always come back to like what Saints and Sinners on the Quest 2, and even comparing it to PC or PlayStation. It definitely doesn't look nearly as good as either of those versions, but the full game is there, and it might not look as good, but I'll be damned if it's not just as fun, and I'm totally cool with sacrificing that kind of stuff to get it in a standalone. But like you said, we were talking about tech 2 years down the road now, and just like I said, the eye tracking and being able to focus, like make that clear where you're looking. It is an absolute game changer as far as like processing power and what games need to do to get to be in your headset. So yeah, I think the future is bright for PlayStation. We're just in this situation now where it's a waiting game, and it sucks. I understand it sucks. It does suck. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have the headsets that I have, and the rigs and stuff that I have. So PSVR is my only option. But for those of us that it is your only option, like you said last time we chatted, it's going to be a bit of a wait. But I think we both in agreement that the wait will more than likely, or will most likely, be worth it. I can't see them coming out with a PSVR 2 headset and already being behind whatever Oculus is doing, or if anybody else is even making headsets by then.
No, and but it also depends on what your expectations are. Like I can tell you guys, let's just say that everything we just talked about with, eye tracking and and different utilizations of transferring data through like SSDs and such. Let's just say that isn't happening at the pace that we hope it will be. I can tell you right now, I have the Reverb G2, which is basically it's getting pretty close to a 4K display, and it looks insane, and it destroys my 2080 Ti on certain games. And my point is that the PS5, it's hard to really compare its GPU to a PC, but I've heard that it's kind of in spitting distance to like a 3070, which is very impressive. But my point is that some of the expectations I think that people have of like what the next VR is going to be still has to work into the constraints of what, say, the PS5 has horsepower wise. And high resolution displays require a lot of horsepower still. And
Yeah.
it surprised me that I was like literally turning down the graphic settings in certain games with the G2, because it was a compromise between getting that high res. Now, mind you, I didn't need to use any anti-aliasing or anything because the thing was so damn sharp. But man, I could see that GPU usage pop up. So it's not without its compromises as well. So it's just an interesting time. But I think, to summarize everything that I think you and I are talking about this, our futurizing, is we're in a situation where when you take everything we've just talked about in the last, like, say, 20 minutes, and it becomes even clearer why Sony needs that PSVR to just be behind us, because the next jump in headset is going to be such a leap. You don't they need to make a clean break. It's not gonna, they're not gonna just upgrade they're not just gonna upgrade our controllers. They're not just gonna give us better tracking. It's gonna be a big jump. It's gonna be
No,
awesome.
I agree. I mean, like I said, they came in, even when the PSVR dropped, it was like the third best of the big headsets, right? Behind the Vive and behind the Rift. But we knew that when we bought it. I mean, it's running off a PS4, which at the time was already 4 years old. So we knew going in as PSVR guys, we weren't getting the best VR experience, but we were getting a very comparable VR experience. So by no means was it like already, it wasn't outdated out of the box, but it was kind of behind the bigger guys, which were also more expensive at that time and required much more expensive computers to run it. So we understood that we were the budget version of VR, which still wasn't budget. It still cost a a PS4, PS4 Pro,
Another
and a
console.
PS4 headset.
Yep.
It still cost a pretty penny, but it was still like half the cost of getting a PC rig at the very least. I think now going forward, PSVR needs a price drop. PSVR needs a big price drop to kind of stay going and moving. Because I think the worst thing that can happen with PSVR is it gets stagnant, where no one buys it because it's still. I mean, Jesus, it's more expensive than the Quest now, and a lot of them run the same games. And like I said, the Quest offers different stuff than PlayStation. But I think in order to stay competitive and kind of stay relevant, PSVR needs a $50 to $100 price drop for the next little while. I mean, like make money off your software. Don't worry, keep your headsets. Keep people talking about them. So make sure they can get into people's hands, especially with PS5 out there. PSVR will run on PS5. Awesome. Drop the price of that headset so more people can kind of commit and experience what PSVR is now. So when PSVR 2 drops, you have that piece of the market that already wants to play your next headset. To me, I would expect I was expecting a price drop this Christmas on PSVR, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened. Even a $50 cut would be a big deal, and they haven't done any. It's kind of pricey now. It's actually a kind of a pricey headset. It hasn't dropped in price for 2 years now.
Well, I'm just trying to look here. There's a new bundle that's coming out, but they don't have a price for it. The Christmas bundle here, I'm pretty sure this is what I was reading. It's a mega pack, and it's VR World, Skyrim, Astrobot, Resident Evil 7, and Everybody's Golf VR with a camera and the headset. They don't say move controllers, but I would imagine it's got 2 moves in it as well.
Oh, I would not. Really? that last bundle with Everybody's Golf didn't come with move controllers. I laughed my ass off.
Okay, well that's sad, but anyways, that's the bundle, and I don't know what the price is, but I would imagine it's still a decent price. You're right, it's not cheap, but there's probably a bottom line where Sony still can't sell it for a lot cheaper.
Like I said, I think it's it's making money off the software. I think it's a matter of like sell it on your games and apps. Apps are pretty terrible. Sell your games and like I said, make it so you're just barely making pennies off of it, if anything. Because like I said, it needs to be in more houses now, because the longer every day it just gets like a less and less viable option. And I preface this thing by saying I'm going to be super negative. I'm not trying to be negative here, but I'm going to be realistic. Like it's aging out, and it's aging out so fast, even faster than I thought it would have.
This is virtual boys, not virtual whores.
Exactly.
We're not sitting here sucking the Sony schlong, but
the PSVR still offers the aim controller, which is still no one else has that, and the aim controller games are amazing. I mean, we said this last time. I mean, I don't know how Sony didn't push more aim controller games to come out, and force devs, or not force devs, even paid devs to be like, look, here's some backend, let's get something good. There's 30 aim controller games, somewhere in that ballpark. We haven't seen too many at all. Alvo will be the next one that comes out, but the last one that came out that sport aim was it's been a minute. It's been a long time. And to me, that's the most underrated peripheral of this whole generation, was the aim controller. It's amazing.
So that mega pack's going for $299 in Europe is what I'm getting here. No controllers, but that's a good deal. I think that's about as good as it's going to get. They're value adding with the games. It's a tough one though. It's like, the question is, should you buy a PSVR Christmas 2020? I don't know.
Yeah,
yes.
To me,
yes, but with expectations in place.
Yeah, and I say yes, but that price point still, that's $300. That's 300 euros. That's $350 US, right? So that's like $400 Canadian. I think is how that roughly works. There's a lot of math going on there in my head.
It's like double, and a little less than double in Canada, basically, for your euros.
A little less than double. So we're talking like 450 is what we're saying here.
Probably 400.
Like $500.
Probably 400. I bet you it's 400 in Canada. I think that's right. $399. I think that sounds about right. And I don't know. It's a weird situation right now to be recommending you buy it, because, like you said, the games are awesome.
Well, how much does the PS5 cost?
In Canada here, $599 for the disc version.
like we're not too far off. So the disc version is $5.99. So the digital version is $4.99.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we're talking about PSVR being $3.99. That's a huge ask.
Yeah.
Now with PS5 out, that's a monstrous ask to be buying this tech for that price. And like I say, I still say if you can get a hold of a cheap PSVR, do it. It's awesome. But that price now that I'm thinking about it now, it seems too high. Even with those games, I mean, no offense to those games, but all those games go on sale
Yeah.
for dirt cheap. I mean, none of them are exceptionally not except they're all great games, but they're not. They're all older. They all go on sale. They're probably I bet you half of them are on sale right now during this Black Friday sale.
Yeah.
So you can pad it all you want with your 5 games, but I mean, VR Worlds is one of those games in that bundle.
Do you know
That goes
did,
until
did you know
$5. That's a $5 game.
did you know that VR Worlds I got a buddy who used to work at Sony on the PSVR side there, guys, and he told me that he has a lot of stuff he couldn't tell me about, but one thing he did tell me was like what the most popular games are on PSVR, like looking behind the scenes of what people are actually playing, and
Mhm.
PSVR Worlds has basically been the #1 game since day one and still is. It still crushes.
It's still a showcase title,
I
man. It's
know.
still
I know.
it's easy to show friends and family. I mean, that shark thing, it looked awesome, back then. The head ball thing is fun.
Shark Tank's
Uh,
still awesome. It's
the shark
still
thing's awesome,
freaking
except
awesome.
they need to patch in um a continuation or like a start point so you can start at the shark encounter and not go through all that 10 minutes of fluff beforehand. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. You want
Yep.
someone took a lot of time to develop this stuff and make it. I understand that. We're 4 years deep now. Just let me start at the shark, please. I want to show the shark off to friends and family and not wait 10 minutes through every single family member. But that's just a minor quibble. Um, yeah, it's
Well,
train of thought. Yeah,
I
five
would
dollars
imagine.
for that game. Yeah.
I would imagine we should probably start wrapping up. I'm not sure if you had any other points you wanted to hit at. Just put a pin maybe in the whole PSVR Quest thing. Um, my stance on that without going into specifics, which I will in my upcoming video. So make sure you subscribe. But I guess I should be pointing that one. But anyways, my take on that is, people are like, oh, should I get rid of my PSVR for a Quest? No, no, I'd keep both. You got to keep both, man. The exclusives are killer on the PSVR.
And like,
I,
what are the big exclusives for Quest?
well, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, exclusives. That's the
Yeah.
problem. They have a lot of timed. They got a lot of times exclusives.
And a lot of those games are already available on PSVR. Like, you can get Super Hot, you can get Arizona
Well,
Sunshine.
yeah, the Quest is the
Even
Quest. The
Population
Quest.
One is
Yeah.
supposed to be coming to play PSVR. So, like I said, there's still life in the PSVR for sure. And yeah, if you're gonna buy one or the other, like, PSVR definitely has the library. So I've just cut you off and keep talking, Shug.
No, you're
I'm
just.
reiterating your point.
Yeah,
I
I
literally
agree.
cut you off to then make your point. That's
No,
just
it's fine. I agree with you. That's the thing, right? There's definitely there's life left in it. Oh man, absolutely. It's just know that you're buying. It's like I think it's just fair. It's like there's a lot of people out there who played the Super Nintendo well into the next gen of PS1 and Saturn and such and N64. There's people there that are still playing PS3. You've seen those YouTube videos of guys, popular YouTubers will go on to like old games that are still online, like old Modern Warfare games and stuff like that, like COD, and be like, "Why are you guys still playing?" They're like, "Oh well, because I can't afford it." So there's a lot of market for that too.
mhm.
Um, it is what it is. But circling back to the PS5, um, it's slick, and that's really what I think it comes down to. It's super slick. I would never buy a Series X just because I don't think that Microsoft has the exclusives. Their game plan is much more aimed at cloud gaming and PC crossplay, and they're not their eyes aren't focused on being a strictly console developer, and Sony still wants to be a console developer.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's why, I mean, like I said, up until the PS of VR, I was an Xbox fanboy is not the right word, but I was an Xbox guy, right? Like, I didn't really care for Sony. I never liked the Dual Shocks. They just never felt good in my hands. And I missed out on a lot of good games. But I was an Xbox fanboy until the Xbox One, and that really changed my opinion of them because their showcase titles stopped being showcase titles. I mean, I was a Halo guy, and they kind of changed that franchise to being not good. And I know we haven't had Infinite yet, but I'm not sure how that's going to land. They've delayed it because of whatever reason. And Gears, I'm not a Forza guy, so yeah, for me, Sony was the easy call because obviously I got my PlayStation because of VR, and I ended up enjoying a lot of great games because of that. I haven't played God of War, the latest one, but Uncharted 4. I just wrapped Last of Us 2, and these are games that Microsoft never see, and they're some of the best games ever made. And Xbox offers a lot of cross-platform stuff, but as far as exclusives go, mm, they've lost me. So I'm with you there too.
Yeah, and it's a yeah. I'm really happy with the PS5 so far. Um, I like the 4K player too, because I like my movies. I am a movie collector, so I still you can't 4K a good 4K disc will absolutely destroy anything you can stream.
But how
But
are your
that's
3D Blu-rays? How are your 3D Blu-rays, Shug? You can't play 3D Blu-rays on your PS5 anymore.
I don't want to talk about that. But I have but I have a region-free Blu-ray player that I got from like something some place in Korea. So I that's a 3D Blu-ray player and I use that. But anyways, that's getting off on a completely different note. I guess before we close out here, if you guys have any burning Q&A questions about the PS5 compatibility, um, Ryan's sex appeal, feel free to fire off.
Yeah, I'm just going through my chat right now. Mostly just guys chatting to themselves, which is awesome. Mentioning some games that are coming out. Population One, yeah, Ven VR. That was a PSVR game that now is a Quest and Oculus game that's coming to PSVR. So they obviously changed their priorities around to get it on the Oculus headsets first. Which I totally get, man. It's the hot VR item right now. So, but we're
Well,
still getting it.
but you know what? On that, um, on the VR chat show, when I got a chance to interview a couple of the developers, we like, for example, the Aspire developers. That guy got really real with us, and he was telling us about the mindset and the difficulties around um, developing for PC, Quest, and PSVR. And he said that the big thing is that when they're looking at the developments, like the PC is the PC, and it's kind of the Wild West, and they can roll out patches willy nilly. It doesn't matter. It sounds like the Quest's a lot easier also to roll out patches for, and Sony charges for patches, and Sony has a very strict um, quality assurance program. It's very hard to get games on the store, so that often puts the PlayStation on the "we'll get to it" list. It'll be the next one because it's going to have to be highly optimized, and it requires different attention. Um, so I think that's why you see PC first because that's what it's made on. Then you ported to the Quest. The other thing that Aspire said was that they had to look at it as three versions, and the Quest was the lowest end hardware, so they made it for the Quest and scaled it up for the PSVR instead of making it for the PSVR and scaling it down to the Quest. And the PC was kind of its own version. And so, I mean, that's not always going to be the case, but it's a weird situation sometimes where Sony gets not prioritized because they're difficult to work with.
I've heard that before. I've heard countless
Yeah.
devs who say they can't even get a hold of Sony, and obviously that very well could be on the devs as well. I mean, I don't know what they've done to get a hold of them, but I've heard some devs definitely say that, like working with Sony. I've heard some devs say it's been amazing, and Sony totally helped them get through a bunch of issues. So I think it really depends on which developers you talk to, and obviously
Yeah.
which games too. I'm sure some games get prioritized. I'm no offense to what Deadland VR, but I don't think Sony gave two craps about that game as opposed to like if the guys over at Impulse Gear had a question, I'm sure Sony answered that first over them. So you do understand there's probably going to be a divide between smaller and bigger devs.
It also depends
But
on the game. Like if the Alvo devs have been very clear about the fact that the game was made on PC. It's been tested. It was tested. All the rough stages were tested through PC till they came up with a PSVR build. But their focus is on the PSVR because they look at that as the market that will love Alvo. They don't have games like that. They have aim controllers in their hands. Alvo will kill on the PSVR. On the PC, it's too much competition. They won't pay attention to it. And they said that they want to do the Quest but it's going to be harder to make the game work on it because of the lower end hardware, and they don't have an aim controller. So it's like a situation like that. PSVR is the way to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
it's not a simple conversation. It's just, it's like it's a chess. It's it's a chess match almost, as you kind of like see what what game's going where and why, and it's an interesting situation. But
Yeah, no, and like I said, and Quest is still the hot VR headset right now. I mean, Quest is still, people are talking about the Quest. It's the new kid on the block, and it impresses in every way that it has to. Like I said, minus the fact that it's connected to Facebook, and if you have Facebook issues, then obviously it's not the headset for you. But besides that that one point, the Quest is awesome, especially if you have a PC backing it up. So I definitely see why devs are changing focus. And like I said, it's way easier to develop for PC than PS. Like I said, and then VR. Like I just mentioned that they came out of the gates and said like this is coming to PSVR. This is our platformer. It looks, and it's a solid looking game. And just this last week, maybe just over a week ago, they said, yeah, no, it's coming to Quest in January. Followed shortly by PC release and then PSVR down the road. So they've definitely shifted focus to Quest because I think it's easier to develop for, and it's also a return in income. I mean, these are small developers who need cash back, right? All they do is spend to develop, and once the game releases, they need to recoup their losses. So if it's easier to build for one platform, that's still going to probably sell a lot of copies of their title, assuming it's good.
yeah,
Then yeah, I mean, Quest just makes sense, especially when the Quest and PSVR, while not comparable like power wise on paper, are comparable when you're developing a VR game. They're a lot closer than a high end PC versus an OG PS4. So it's easier to maybe make a game for the Quest than port it because now you've accounted for those shortcomings and now can build upon them. Whereas doing the opposite and building something massive for PC and then trying to downgrade it, we've seen that how many times has it happened on PSVR where developers couldn't do it. They're just like, "Yep, sorry guys, we're throwing in the towel. We can't get this thing to run on the PSVR where we're happy with its performance." And
yeah, but
it's happened a ton.
that is that and that's that we're in a weird situation right now, and I at the risk of coming off like the PC master race, which I never was until I bought the PC a little while ago to be able to kind of like do everything and do more editing and videos and everything. We're in a weird situation right now where it was like games were made for PC, the VR games, and they looked great, and then they tried to downscale them and jam them into the PSVR, which also had control limitations with the moves without analog sticks, and they tried to make it work. And that was the world we lived in. We got downscaled PC versions, but games were made awesome first, and then they tried to make them work. Now we're in this weird place where the Quest is selling so high, selling so well rather, that games are being made for the Quest's hardware and then being scaled up, and they're not looking as good. Like Population One would have looked insane probably if they'd made it for PC first and not been worried about the Quest hardware, the OG Quest. The fact
Well,
that
you
it's
can
running on
find their old trailer footage, right? Their old trailer footage for Population One, you could see how much better it looked in that footage, and then to the final version we got, and the game still runs flawlessly, but you can definitely see they sacrificed a lot to get it on that headset. You can the
yeah,
visual proof is in their trailer.
but that being said, I've played it on the Quest 1, the Quest 2. I've played it on the PC tethered. I've played it on the G2, and the game looks, it's amazing that it runs on the Quest. It doesn't have crazy pop-up. It plays very, very well, and it looks insane when you're running it at 90 frames and in almost 4K on the G2. But it looks very cartoony. I'm just saying we're in this weird situation where I feel like for those who do have PCs and GPUs coming out their ass and nice and really high res headsets, we're not seeing the games coming out exclusively for those who really want to see VR like pushed to its max. Like I want to see more Half-Life Alyxes. And even when I was on the PC, even when I only had a PSVR headset, I still wanted that. I wanted VR to be pushing the boundaries instead of catering to the lowest common denominator. That being said, it's also really good for VR, the fact that they are developing first for the lower end headsets where the numbers are. That's the only way we're gonna get where we want to be.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do agree that it's definitely like a 3 steps forward, 2 steps back kind of mentality when it comes to what we want out of VR in general and what the Quest can offer. But like I said, what the Quest offers has kind of become a benchmark for what we expect out of VR headsets going forward, as far as resolution, frame rate, and wireless. And I think, like I said, I'm willing to kind of make those sacrifices. If we don't see a Half-Life Alex comparable title for the next year or two, until the next big headset drops or whatever, I'm kind of cool with that, as long as everyone else can kind of not catch up to the Quest, I guess, but kind of catch up to what the Quest has kind of proven to be, what people want out of VR. And like I said, being able to just bring my Quest over to my buddy's house and strap it on his face without being tied to a console or PC, that's how VR spreads, right? I'm bringing up my friends over for Christmas, and I know we're kind of going over our time here, but like having to set up my PSVR, like bring my lug my whole console over and my headset to a friend's house, and then showcase those games to everybody. It was a bit of work. Now my headset case is like my Quest headset case is this big, and I can show some of the best stuff VR has to offer.
Yeah. And I just bring up my phone, I put it there, and I cast to my phone, and then people or to a TV, and then people watch what's going on.
It's amazing.
It's easy.
Quest 2 is one of the best ways to share VR. And like I said, we're still also, to finish this off, we are still in the growing pains of VR. This is still the first generation of VR, or first consumer generation of VR, and we are still very much in those growing pains. I think it'll be, I think the PlayStation 2 or PlayStation VR 2 to me will kind of signify the next generation of VR officially. And obviously there'll be better headsets out there by the time the PSVR 2 drops. But I think for me, it'll be that benchmark of like, Sony will have listened to feedback and see what people like, what they don't like, and then whatever headset they release will kind of be a culmination of what people expect out of VR. That's my theory. I have no idea if that's going to happen, but to me, 2022 will kind of be the generation 2 of VR, I guess is kind of what I'm saying.
Well, you know what, the big thing here that we're not talking about though, and I want to talk about it, is the Oculus Quest has a really big advantage over the PlayStation. Ryan, I want to talk about porn.
Look, porn has backed so many mediums in the past. DVDs, VHS, like porn has been behind so many of those evolutions in how we consume media. Like porn, like do holograms, man. You know how much money porn invested in holograms? It was crazy. When they were doing conventions, about these tech conventions, they had porn stars as the hologram, because the porn companies were the ones that were funding these guys, giving these guys the money to make holograms.
It's what pushed Blu-ray past HD, was the porn industry committed to Blu-ray. What made me think of it was you were talking about strapping something to your buddy's face. And I was like, that sounds dirty somehow.
You and me live very different lives, I think, buddy. I don't that's a weird one. That's a weird little correlation to go to. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I mean, how many posts on Reddit? If you go to the Reddit page, I get it's like one or two or three a week where it's like VR porn on my PlayStation. How do I make this work?
Hey,
and that guy is awesome for doing what he's doing, because so many other people out there who probably want porn in VR are too afraid to go to message boards because their social media, it's all linked to their name, right? You see it in Facebook. Like, how do I get porn in Little Star? Why is this not working?
I agree. So we got to talk. You got to talk. I mean, it would be dishonest of us not to talk about it. I gave my friend my old Quest the other day for free, and it had all my games on it too. I said, well, as long as you don't want to play multiplayer, you can play all my old titles and stuff. And literally, every single Quest game you'd want to play was on this thing. And he messages me the other day. He's like, dude, porn on the Quest was fucking awesome. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. That's what I figured he'd be into. That's what he's sitting in the basement, his 2 kids are in bed, and he's just sitting there going, oh.
Dude, there are full websites that are just, all they do is just publish VR porn. Like, VR porn it's a big medium. I mean, porn, we all know porn is a massive, massive industry. It's huge. And VR and porn would basically be a match made in heaven. So of course, like, porn will push headsets, man. And like I said, the Quest 2, yeah, it's easily accessible. And if you're into porn and you didn't know about this, Quest 2 can get you there real quick.
Get you where real quick?
I guess it depends on the individual.
It's gonna get you there real quick. Anyways,
we gotta wrap this up, Shug.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys. We really appreciate it. Yeah, this is kind of our second foray into this. I think we ironed out a lot of bugs there. It wasn't nearly amateur hour as it was last time. And so, guys, please feel free to shoot into the comment section and let us know what you'd like to see us change, what you'd like to see us do. We're not quite sure what we want to do with this, but we're kind of buddies in real life, and so we're kind of thinking of doing something to bring that entertainment to you guys and for us to be able to.
We're doing VR porn,
have
guys.
fun.
We're doing VR
That's pretty
porn.
much what's going to happen. I'm going to strap Ryan to my face. And then he's gonna handle my Move controller.
Nice.
Yep, we went there. Anyways, guys, yeah. So let us know what you'd like to see. I think we're throwing around ideas about doing some streaming and some more of this and some more of that, and yeah, just appreciate you guys stopping by and watching and chatting, and yeah, it was awesome.
Yep, same with you guys on my channel. If you're watching, I'm sure you all know who Shugghead is, but if you don't, check out his YouTube channel and whatever else he's got going on, or find him on social media. I don't have the links on my stream because I kind of forgot to do that. So you can find him at Shugghead. He's not a hard guy to find. Just type in SHUGG. The rest should fill out, and you'll find the dude. So check him out. He's pretty awesome.
So I'm not nearly as selfish as Ryan. I actually have his links in there. You can check him on Twitter. But yeah, he's the VR Grid. And seriously, guys, if you haven't checked out Ryan, and you like my content, you really need to check out Ryan's stuff, because we have content that is definitely very very complimentary, and he knows his shit. He's a good guy, and yeah, if you like me, you're probably gonna like him. So yeah, I know he's a little bit better looking too. I think, is that an Astrobot shirt you got on there too?
No, that's my VR Grid shirt, but I wore a hoodie.
Oh, you whore!
I only have one. I only have one, and the logo's too big. Look how big this thing is. I had it custom made, and I was like, yeah, I want like an Iron Man size logo. But okay, I get it back, and I was like, no, that's so much larger than I intended.
What you need to do is hit the weights there and get that chest up, boy.
Oh, dude, the chest is good. It's everything else around the chest that's the problem.
Yeah, well, I don't even want to go there. The reason I keep my arms crossed, gotta hide everything. Anyways, guys, I really appreciate you swinging by the Virtual Boys show. And yeah, I really appreciate it, guys. And keep an eye on the channel. I'm working on a review for Tarzan, and also some other cool shit coming up in the next few days if I can get my crap together. So, anyways, yeah, on that, I'll say goodnight to you guys, and Ryan, thanks.
Stay tuned for my stuff. I'll be doing some PS5, PS4 coverage and stuff still, more comparative videos. And it's end of the year, guys, so expect me and Shug to both have some best of lists coming out here really quick. Shug, this was awesome. I think I love you, man. I think I love you. But that's it for this one, I think.
Yeah, later. Love you too, man. Later, guys.
See y'all. Thanks.